wanted that if you could share your valuable thoughts on, on the secondary education, and yeah, how do you think that it's the future outlook and this are. Yes, ma'am, please.
For education in Uttar Pradesh.
Yes, ma'am.
And Uttar Pradesh is, in fact, the only state in India. Secondary education is a department separate from primary education. In all the other states, education is one department, one ministry. Here, it is a separate department and a separate ministry in itself with a separate budget head. And the reason for that is that Uttar Pradesh, being a very large state, the volumes are so high that we need to focus on primary and secondary as being equally important. Secondary in after primary, of course, which gives the basic literacy and numeracy and ability to learn and do things. Secondary is actually the bridge to higher education. So if you want to achieve and you want to get your children to achieve bigger things and go on to higher education and be a truly educated literate society, secondary education requires a lot more care and a lot more nurturing. And that is why precisely Government of UP has a Department of Secondary Education. And one of my most inspiring, or this thought which stays with me always, is that primary education is what you learn, which makes you, gives you tools to learn things. But you retain what you learn at the secondary level. If all of us think back, all the things which we actually retain about education, the education which we are very proud of, and all the knowledge which you retain, you will see that it stems back from when you were in the secondary level. Maybe it is to do with the fact that the board exams also happen at the secondary level, and it's a very important stage of teaching and testing what you have learned. So secondary has been given a lot of careful thought by the government. And there are separate schemes, even from the Government of India, they have separate schemes for the secondary education. In UP, currently, the focus on secondary education is it's a many multi-dimensional kind of approach, and especially with the new national education policy, where a lot of thought has been given to flexibility in secondary education stage, so as to be able to give flexibility in higher education after the basic primary education. So the strengthening of secondary education has taken place in a big way in Uttar Pradesh over the last 4 years. There have been a huge number of schools which have been opened, and a large number of schools which we have started, in which the construction has been completed. Construction had been started many years ago, but had not been completed. That construction has been completed, and huge number of posts of teachers and principals have been sanctioned. So the first and the foremost step was the strengthening of infrastructure. So with the opening of new schools and the running of new schools, a careful thought has been given to what the schools which were there for a very long time, their infrastructure had eroded. So those government schools where the infrastructure was not up to the mark, the government has this year given a lot of budget to improve the infrastructure of those schools, to repair those schools, and to bring them up to the mark in every other way. And for the first time, this has also been done for aided schools. As you know, that there is a concept of giving grants and aids to certain schools. And this started a long way off when there weren't enough government schools, that the government had decided to give grant and aid to a few schools to supplement the education infrastructure. So the aided schools, the salaries of the teachers are paid by the government, but otherwise for the infrastructure, there wasn't any grant and aid. For the first time now, the government has given a grant and aid for those schools which are aided by government. So with the infrastructure, the government also has taken a very big step and sort of started a campaign to fill up the vacant posts. One of the things which was ailing secondary education was the lack of number of teachers in schools. So the total sanction strength was never completed in any school, and there were always vacancies which were there, and the rate at which we were recruiting teachers was not keeping up with the rate of vacancies. So then there were gaps in the number of teachers. So currently we have recruited over 10,000 government teachers and about 20,000 non-government teachers, that is in aided schools, over the last 4 years. And that's a huge number of teachers to have come into secondary schools. With that, UP government also has started the training of teachers, because it is not only important to have teachers, but it's very important to have trained teachers. So we've also started training of teachers, and the training of teachers is something which was an initiative which UP government had taken in consonance with NCERT. And for the first time, secondary education teachers were trained by NCERT last year. And this year, that whole program has been upscaled in Nishtha Secondary, where training of secondary teachers has been taken up on an all India scale by Government of India and put on the Diksha platform. So together with schools, with new schools, with maintenance and repair of old schools, with recruitment of teachers and the training of teachers, the next focus was on the bringing the curriculum up to date. So the curriculum in Uttar Pradesh now is completely as per the NCERT syllabus. Before that, UP board, which is one of the largest boards in the world, had its own syllabus and its own books, but now we've brought them all in consonance with NCERT. We've adopted the NCERT syllabus, and we also published the NCERT books for UP board. And we, in fact, it's a matter of pride for us that we've managed to get them at very competitive rates. And our books would probably be one amongst the most economical NCERT books to be bought in the market. So with making the NCERT syllabus and then changing the syllabus in the sense we've got a lot of new vocational trades. In fact, Uttar Pradesh is one of the few states which has adopted NCC also as one of the subjects at the intermediate level. So that's been a very forward-looking step on the part of Uttar Pradesh government. Together with improving the infrastructure, the hardware, the software, the curriculum, there has been a lot of focus on improving the board examinations. As I mentioned before, Uttar Pradesh board is one of the largest, if not the largest in the world. Every year we have 56 lakh students sitting for the board exams, which is 5.6 million children sit for the board exams every year. And when you compare it to CBSE, which is about 3 million children, we are almost the double of CBSE. So it is a huge challenge. Over the last few years, this narrative had gone around that it is easy to cheat in a UP board examination because the volume is so high. So we had all sorts of allegations of malpractices going on. The current government has taken very serious steps to stop all these allegations and to make a completely fair and free board examination happen. So what we did was we have about 96,000 examination rooms for these 56 lakh students. And for these 96,000 examination rooms, we put in 2 CCTV cameras with voice recorders, internet, etc. And all these cameras, which is almost about 2 lakh cameras, connected in various rural areas, far-flung areas, they were connected to a district control center, where each of these rooms was being watched by a district control room center. And these district control rooms, as well as the examination rooms and examination centers, were connected to a centralized command and control in Lucknow. which had all of these 2 lakh cameras being watched in one single room, which I think is the biggest exercise which any government may have done in the last few years of watching over and supervising examination. As a result of which, the incidence of cheating or malpractices in UP board examinations have come down to a very negligible number. In addition to this, what we have done for the board examination is that we have made everything online. And all the examinees are now linked with their Aadhaar numbers, so that this allegation that a proxy can come and give an examination, that itself has been disposed of. So while the registration of the children is completely online, and even the centers for the board exams, they are also decided by an online system, so that people cannot manage to get a particular school made an examination center or try to manipulate with the way the board exams are being conducted. With all these digital interventions in the board exams, Uttar Pradesh, the UP board exam has done a complete 180 degrees turn and achieved what some time back seemed really impossible, was how to supervise an exam which has 5.6 million children, and which has 1.45 lakh invigilators. So we have to not only supervise the children giving the exams, there is a whole question of how to supervise the invigilators and how to manage their duties. So their duties are also put online, and their attendance is also taken online. And now we've developed a software which also will calculate their dues online, so that their dues are paid. Because with the 1.45 lakh invigilators, we also have about 2 lakh teachers who have to evaluate the 3 crore copies. So we have this huge number of copies which are being, which have to be evaluated. And evaluation is a centralized process in which, just to obviate any chance of anybody manipulating or tampering with the copies, we have to put them in centralized rooms where all the teachers come. And under the supervision of a supervisor, we have to get these copies checked. So when we are talking about 30 million copies being checked, we have, that's also a very, very big challenge for us. So, but with the help of technology, we've managed to do a very good job with UP board examinations, and we hope that we will be able to do even more with the days to come. In addition to that, there is a very big focus in Uttar Pradesh on Sanskrit education and on promoting Sanskrit education. So this was one of the areas which had not been given enough attention in the past, but now, as with other schools of government schools and the aided schools, even the Sanskrit schools, they have been given funds for repair and maintenance for the first time this year. And we are trying to see that at least the infrastructure part is completed. With that, there was a shortage of teachers in Sanskrit schools. For that, Uttar Pradesh has taken out a policy of hiring retired teachers in all kinds of government aided and Sanskrit schools. With that, we've also taken on teachers on contract to fill up the gaps till we can get regular teachers. So we've just gone through this whole business of getting teachers on contract. So the first part of it, of having able teachers, is being done. And in Sanskrit, there were, as I said, Sanskrit education hadn't been given enough attention for a long time. And there were a lot of problems. There were a lot of service matters to be done with teachers. There were pay scale incompatibilities which had to be handled. So all of these are being given attention. But the most important thing which has been done in the Sanskrit schools is that they have been given a modern curriculum in addition to the Sanskrit curriculum. So the modern subjects as compared to the ancient subjects, the subjects of mathematics and science, they've also been introduced with the NCERT syllabus in all the Sanskrit schools. So now the Sanskrit schools also have the NCERT syllabus, and we've started training the Sanskrit school teachers also on the NCERT pattern. And with that, for the children, for vocationalization of education of Sanskrit school children, because for them to get something to earn their living, that was very important. So we've also started this whole mission of vocationalization of Sanskrit schools. There is a great demand for people knowing Sanskrit, whether it is for religious ceremonies, whether it is for various other things. But to give the children enough practice and training, we've tied up with various institutions. We're tying up with institutions even like Max Muller, and we're with the Shanti Kunj in Haridwar, to give children practical hands-on training. We've also decided to make a Sanskrit directorate, one of its the first in India, one of the first states in India which will have a Sanskrit directorate for the promotion of teaching in Sanskrit schools. In addition to that, the major challenge which was before all the states last year was the COVID pandemic. Now, our response, the Uttar Pradesh, the response to the COVID pandemic was quite instantaneous, in the sense that the lockdown was declared in March last year. I think it was the 19th of March 2020. And by the time April came, we had already started giving classes on Doordarshan and on the Swayam Prabha channel, which is run by Government of India. So we were the first state to request Government of India to give us some airtime on the Swayam Prabha channel. The challenge at that point of time was there wasn't enough curriculum recorded in Hindi. So what we had to do was we had to select teachers. We had to get videos recorded. The videos had to be checked for their veracity, and then they had to be put on air. But we managed to do all of that. And not only on the Swayam Prabha channel, then we started buying some prime time on Doordarshan and the board classes, the 10th and the 12th board. We did classes, we showed their curriculum on Doordarshan for 4 hours every day throughout the lockdown in 2020 as well as 2021. And the experiment which we had was that we made the entire Uttar Pradesh into a virtual school. We used to make a timetable, which we said that if every school followed on airtime, they would be able to cover their syllabus. So as per the syllabus, we had videos which were made, and those videos were shown according to a particular timetable, and which could be viewed all over Uttar Pradesh in all the 30,000 schools of UP board. They could be viewed, as well as by the children of the ICSE and the CBSE board, because the curriculum is more or less the same. So a clear timetable was published in all the leading newspapers all over the state, that this is the program for the week. This is how the classes will be aired, on which channel will they be aired, and all the children could watch that. By this method, we covered almost 60% of our syllabus during the lockdown period. And I think our children did not lag behind so much as we feared would happen because of this unique experiment. With this, we created, in every school, we created a drop corner in which teachers were put on duty, and the parents could come there, drop their children's books. The teachers would give them homework in their copies. The parents would come and pick up those books from the drop box corner and take them home and get them filled in and come back next week and do it. There was a particular time slot fixed for every teacher. We also created what were WhatsApp groups for all the children and the teachers. We had parents also in some of the groups. We had our education department officers randomly joining groups and supervising quietly what was happening in those groups. So we had about 29.5 lakh groups and almost about I think 40 lakh children joined in those groups on the secondary level. And that was also a very, very interesting and comprehensive exercise which we did to keep the children engaged, as well as give them homework, and also to address their doubts if they had any. So the COVID response at that point of time was instantaneous and quite comprehensive by the UP government. And a lot of videos which were made in Hindi were then, after that, we started a YouTube channel also called E-Gyan Ganga. And the videos were uploaded on that, and as well as on the Diksha channel of the Government of India. Even now, those videos are being aired on the Government of India channel called eVidya. And very soon in January, we are going to start this revision exercise of the board classes by ending these videos on Doordarshan for 4 hours every day on Doordarshan. So the children who are going in for the board exam, if they've missed any syllabus or they've missed anything, they can have access to these videos which will be aired on Doordarshan. The reason I'm emphasizing Doordarshan is because while all children do not have access to a mobile, we also did a survey to find out how many children had access to a mobile. And by access to a mobile, I mean not owning a mobile, but access to a parent's mobile or to a neighbor's mobile or even to an uncle's mobile, which they could see. But even if they have access, they don't have 100% time access. I mean, they may get it for half an hour, they may get it for 15 minutes. But if they need 4 hours of studying, they don't get access to mobile for 4 hours. But Doordarshan was one medium we realized in which if there is a TV in one household, then a lot of children can come there and a whole neighborhood can sit in front of a TV and watch those classes. So while children may not have access to school or to mobiles, but Doordarshan was one place where we could reach them. And that's what we are trying to do. Now, for the children who don't have access to Doordarshan, what we decided was that we started airing things on radio. So we started programs like, history through storytelling. So we got history lessons made in form of a story, and we would put them on the radio or have them in podcasts. Or the other thing was distance learning. So distance learning at secondary education, the curriculum had to be developed. So we developed the curriculum for children who did not have access to Doordarshan or a mobile or any kind of technology. We posted them lessons on through distance learning courses which we had developed. We send them by regular post. And we also contacted people nearby, the teachers nearby, to help those children if they could learn. Similarly, we in every village amongst a few children, one child who was very active, we made them a monitor to start inspiring children who were not going to school, because that was such a huge challenge for us last year when children were out of school, to see that there would not be a gap in their learning process. So we got these children as monitors who would be monitoring how the child is responding. If any child was not sort of following any lessons, either on WhatsApp or on Doordarshan or by discussion or ringing up a teacher, we had also set up a helpline. There was a call center which we had set up with teachers of every subject sitting and given a helpline number. Any child who needed to ask anything could ring up that helpline and find out whatever was their doubt, if they were following classes or they had a problem on something. So a sort of a virtual teacher on call was another thing which we had started. So all in all, the COVID response was a huge challenge, needless to say, but something which we handled quite satisfactorily, and we felt very proud of our own response to the COVID situation. Now, in addition to that, the national education policy, the new education policy, I think Uttar Pradesh was again one of the first states which set up a task force under the chairmanship of the Honorable Deputy CM. And under that, every department, all the education departments, they all set up their steering committees. And each department under the steering committee had these working groups and the focus point committees. They selected focus areas, and these working committees, the working groups, would work on the focus areas. For instance, in secondary education, we had 7 focus areas. And one was handling curriculum, one was handling teachers training, the third was handling infrastructure, the fourth was handling gifted children, how to help gifted, kind of resource for the gifted children or the specially able children, and to make how to make education more inclusive. And then there was another focus area of pedagogy, curriculum, and board exams, how to deal with that. Another focus area for us was good governance, how to start good governance and how to maintain good governance, how to set up a school standards authorities. So we set up these focus areas, and a lot of work has taken place in Uttar Pradesh. We have started work on the flexibility of choosing subjects, on having multi-choice questions in our examinations, how to bring in more vocationalization, how to have bagless days in schools, teachers training. There's a huge number of teachers trainings which we have set up. And in fact, right now, with the help of corporate social responsibility, CSR funds, a lot of teachers training is taken, especially in career counseling. We are doing a major amount of work because we are training 2 teachers per school for career counseling. So every school would have 2 teachers who could counsel the children on which careers should they take. Similarly, we've done a lot of work in trying to attract corporate social responsibility funds, the CSR funds. And we had our first edit of the CSR in which a lot of corporates joined, and they voluntarily contributed in the secondary education effort. And which brings me to what I want to request through your medium of your World Education Summit, because I'm sure a lot of people would be joined to you, and you are also an ambassador of education in many ways. There is a concept in the National Education Policy of twinning of schools and pairing of schools, that schools must share resources, and between them they can have more resources because if they share them. So I have put this proposal to a lot of organizations with whom I interact, that schools which have a lot of resources may choose to adopt 1 or 2 government schools nearby, which may lack the resources which those private schools have, and share those resources with those schools. Similarly, their teachers can also come to government schools and see how motivated and how inspiring it is when the government school teachers, the challenges which they are faced with, and in spite of which they are doing such a great job, and under what circumstances. That is also inspiring, and those teachers would also get some kind of access and inspiration from those schools. And the children can also be put together so that they learn from each other. So through your August offices, I would like to request that if each one of the better endowed schools, in the private sector, if they could pair up or twin with one of the government schools in the area, then we can see that what kind of an experiment that would be and how we can share our resources better. Also, if you have access to any large corporates, we are trying to do a lot in secondary education in Uttar Pradesh. A lot has already been done in primary education through the inspiration given by our Chief Minister. And there is an operation Kaya Kalp, which is going on in Uttar Pradesh, which means that complete rejuvenation of primary schools. The Honorable Chief Minister has made it a mission. So along those lines, we've started something called Project Alankar, in which we are repairing and maintaining and rejuvenating government schools in Uttar Pradesh. So if anybody wants to contribute to that effort, we would be very very, very happy. And we would really welcome this contribution given by anybody. So that I think I've taken more time than you allotted to me, but thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts about what we've been doing in secondary education. I can't hear you, so you'll have to unmute your.
Yes, ma'am. I hope you can hear me now. Yeah, so I have a question. We just needed your few words on this, ma'am. The year 2021 is very special for UP board. You have completed 100 years. So can we have your few words on this? How you're going to,
So yes, I forgot to mention this, that yes, the UP board was set up under the Intermediate Education Act of 1921.
yes, ma'am.
So as is obvious, it is 100 years since the Intermediate Education Act was promulgated. 1921 was the year when it was made, the Education Act. It was actually put into force in 1922. So the year we started a year-long celebration of the 100 years of the UP board in 1921 to 2021. But unfortunately, because of the COVID pandemic,
Yes, ma'am.
the celebrations could not take place as planned. So now we've sort of pushed back our celebration timelines, and we will take it to 1922, which was actually the year when the act was promulgated and brought into force, and the Governor General and Council signed on it, and it was sanctioned by the Britishers. So what in that 100 years, what we've done is, one is, of course, as I told you, that for the first time the government has sanctioned money, a huge amount of money. Every year the government gives some money, but this time it's been done in the in a mission mode to repair and renovate all the government schools.
Okay.
And with that, we've started this project Alankar, for this purpose of government schools. And in that, we are also trying to get CSR funds for the Project Talent. Besides that, we would be having a series of
Bhai, kahan? Ma'am, are you there? This is from ma'am's side. चली गई मैम? So with this, we would like to conclude. We had wonderful thoughts from Aradhna Shukla, Miss Aradhna Shukla. Ma'am, we just lost you. Yes, ma'am.
yeah, we
So if you,
lost contact, so I
okay, ma'am.
had to
Yes,
reconnect.
yes, ma'am.
I don't know, somehow it just sort of went on the blink.
Yes, ma'am. Please continue.
So I was telling you that we had started this project Alankar this year, and we've gone into mission mode into repairing and restoring government buildings. And some of the government schools are really beautiful. They're more than 100 years old. So it's going to be a good exercise. With that, we also have started something called Mission Gaurav. So Mission Gaurav is an attempt to connect with all the illustrious alumni of UP Board. UP board, as you know, has been is the oldest board in the country. So with that, for a very long time, we had a huge series of illustrious people, all from UP board. I mean, that was the place where everybody would come to study. And what with the number of honorable presidents, prime ministers, honorable ministers, honorable judges, honorable doctors, lawyers, service people, bureaucrats. people in the Indian Administrative Services, the Foreign Services, the other civil services, the police services. I mean, all the who's who of the country for many, many years. A large majority of them were from UP board. So the Mission Gaurav is a portal which we've launched in which we've invited people who've passed out from UP board to connect. We've also asked the teachers and other alumni if they know of somebody to they can put their names on the Mission Gaurav. And when we have finally managed to have an offline celebration, which we are hoping to get done sometime next year, we would like to felicitate everybody who's joined with UP board. On this occasion, we hope to release a stamp. We are also hoping to again restore and repair the original UP board office. It's a very beautiful old building, 100 years old. So we want to do that. So these are part of the celebrations which we've done. I think the best part will be connecting with all the old people. We have so many illustrious writers, journalists, poets. I mean, from Mahadevi Verma or Munshi Premchand, they're all UP board. So you can imagine that UP board, I mean, our current chief minister is also UP board alumni, as is the chief minister of Uttarakhand. So we have a lot of people who have very illustrious people from UP board. And we hope to bring them all together on one platform, hope to have an exchange of views, and hope to take UP road to greater and greater heights.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Wonderful views, and it's really good to know the quantum of work that the government has done. The UP government has the initiatives the UP government has taken. In as far as the secondary education is concerned. So with this, we would like to just conclude this, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining the World Education Summit, ma'am. 27. Thank you so much.